There is an official process for UAP whistleblowers in the United States. Congress created it. It has a name, it has a budget, and it has a designated agency. And the journalist who broke the Immaculate Constellation story publicly, a man who knows the system from the inside, said this about where whistleblowers should go.
Is that I don't trust Arrow at all. And I would actually actively recommend whistleblowers not talk to Arrow. I don't think that they're trustworthy. I'm sorry to say. I also don't trust the ICIG or the DODIG anymore. I just don't think that I don't think they're doing their job.
Before we get into the pattern, let's establish what we are and are not saying in this episode. Here at Beyond the Map, we're not asserting that UAP whistleblowers are being killed. We assert that named credentialed sources speaking on camera, under oath, or on the congressional record have documented a pattern of threats, suppression, and institutional retaliation against people who come forward. Every claim in this episode has a named source. Every source spoke about it publicly. This is by no means the full extent of all those that have been threatened, but hopefully this will expose the pattern. We start with the hardest fact in the Eric Burleson, Republican, congressman from Missouri, member of the House Oversight Committee, not a podcaster, not an anonymous source, a sitting United States congressman with committee access to classified UAP briefings. In early 2025, he hired David Grusch, the intelligence officer who testified under oath about UAP programs. He hired him as a special advisor on UAP. That hiring decision tells you something about how seriously Burleson takes this subject. Here's what he said on camera about what he was told.
I was told that there were two names on a list of people that I was looking through and I was warned to not reach out to those individuals because they have the capabilities and would have no problem having someone like me killed.
A sitting United States congressman on camera saying that he was told by multiple sources that the list of people he had to ask questions, that he should remove two of them, that people who were on the list have the capability and the willingness to act on the threat. Now, that's not speculation. That's documented statement from a member of Congress. Tim Burchett, Tennessee congressman, independent of Burleson, in a different state, on a different committee, different relationships to this subject. He said this.
Prosecution? Are they afraid of being disappeared? Are they afraid of some other force? Where does it germinate?
I think they're afraid of being disappeared, Matt. I think they're being murdered is what they're afraid of. I think some of them truly are because of things they've seen.
Two members of Congress, independent from each other, describing the same landscape. One received a direct threat. The other is characterizing what he hears from people with knowledge. David Grusch. Before anything else, who is David Grusch? Well, he's not a UAP enthusiast and he's not a content creator. He's a former Air Force intelligence officer, a former representative of the UAP task force, a man with top secret SCI clearance who went through the official whistleblower process, the inspector general, and he was assessed as credible and urgent. In July 2023, he testified before Congress. He said that he had personal knowledge of people who'd been harmed. He said that he would only provide those specific details in classified setting. That restraint itself is a data point. He wasn't performing for the cameras. He was protecting his sources. In a separate interview, this one given in San Marino, Italy, at the 32nd World UFO Symposium in November 2023, He said something that's never been adequately addressed by any institution with the authority to investigate it.
People we did interview, I'd say about 10 to 12 of them had concerns about wet work murders in the past, people going missing in their workplace. I certainly had some disturbing things happen to me in my personal life from a physical intimidation perspective.
To be precise about what Grusch said, and precision matters here, he did not say he witnessed a murder. He said that of the 40 people he interviewed, people inside these programs, 10 to 12 of them had concerns about killings. That's a pattern of concern reported by a credentialed intelligence officer, documented in a public interview, never refuted by any government agency with the authority to investigate it. What you've heard so far documents the threat at an individual level. A congressman threatened, an intelligence officer documenting murder concerns among his sources, a second congressman describing systemic fear. But there is a broader architecture of suppression that operates below the level of a physical threat. It's documented in congressional hearing rooms, it's on the record, and in some ways, it's more significant because it's deniable. Retired Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, 31 years in the United States Navy, former NASA Deputy Administrator, former head of NOAA, he testified at the November 13, 2024 UAP hearing. What he described as one of the most underreported accounts in this entire space.
But that elements of the government are engaging in a disinformation campaign to include personal attacks designed to discredit UAP whistleblowers. Could you elaborate on that statement a little?
Yes, sir. Earlier this year, I met with the DoD's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, and what I thought would be a 90-minute meeting just to meet with leadership turned out to be an hours-long influence operation on me, where they attempted to convince me of the validity of the very flawed and error-ridden historical records report. In addition, they tried to have me question very valid UAP reports like the Tic Tac incident, and even coming to stating possibly that the Tic Tac was American technology. And then, of course, if you ask David Fravor or Alex Dietrich, the two witnesses, they were convinced it was otherwise. And then, and they also cast discredit on various UAP whistleblowers and witnesses to question their validity and credibility as witnesses.
That's a retired Rear Admiral under oath at a congressional hearing describing not a vague conspiracy, a specific, coordinated, hours-long effort by government officials to change what he believed about UAP and to undermine the credibility of the witnesses he knew. At that same congressional hearing, two more moments that went almost entirely unreported. Representative Nancy Mace, who chairs the House Task Force on UAP declassification, said this on the congressional record.
Into the congressional record, this 12-page document that Michael Schellenberger brought today that describes the Immaculate Constellation government program. So we will do that now. Every member up here has a copy of it. The first section talks about the unacknowledged special access program called Immaculate Constellation, and the second section about USG imagery intelligence. And Representative Luna just told me if I say Immaculate Constellation, I'll be on some list. Maybe a FISA warrant, so come at me, bro, I guess. But
a sitting congresswoman on the congressional record saying that naming a classified UAP program could trigger a federal surveillance warrant, a FISA warrant against her, and naming it anyway. And Luis Elizondo, former Pentagon official, former head of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, he said at the same hearing this.
Excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos. A small cadre within our own government involved in the UAP topic has created a culture of suppression and intimidation that I've personally been victim to, along with many of my former colleagues. This includes unwarranted criminal investigations, harassment, and efforts to destroy one's credibility. Most Americans would be shocked to learn that the Pentagon's very own Public Affairs Office openly employs a professional psychological operations officer as the singular point of contact for any UAP-related inquiries from citizens and the media. This is unacceptable. Many of my former colleagues and I have provided classified testimony to both the Department of Defense and the Intelligence Community Inspector General, and many of us have subsequently been targeted by this cabal with threats to our careers, our security clearances, and even our lives.
A former Pentagon official, under oath, naming a specific structure, not a vague conspiracy, a small cadre inside the federal government that has deliberately built a culture of suppression. Now, that statement was made under oath on camera at a congressional hearing, and it has never been retracted or refuted. Now, I want to tell you about a specific person. Someone who heard what Grusch said, someone who knew what Burleson was describing, and someone who believed that if he went through the official channels, the ones Congress created specifically to protect people like him, the system would work. Dylan Borland, Air Force veteran, geospatial intelligence specialist, BAE Systems contractor. He worked inside the programs. He knew things. And in September 2025, he testified before the House Oversight Committee, under oath, on the congressional record in front of the same members who heard Gallaudet and Elizondo and Luna. Before he testified publicly, Borland went through every official channel. He went to Senate staff, House staff. He went to ARROW, the official UAP whistleblower mechanism. He went to the Inspector General, the body specifically designed to protect federal whistleblowers. And here's what happened at ARROW from Borland's own testimony on Weaponized, Episode 91, Part 2.
Let's say ARROW comes back and says, hey, Dylan, you talking about Starbucks is unclassified. You talking about Bigfoot in that military uniform? That's TS, no foreign. You are never to say another word about that. That's what ARROW did to me, and they classified everything I brought forward. So
Dylan Borland went to every official channel. He did everything the system asked him to do. The official UAP whistleblower mechanism classified his testimony and locked it on a presidential declassification requirement. The Inspector General told him he was credible and then told him to disappear.
Credible, not urgent. Go disappear in the winds. Leave this all behind. Shut up. Do not do anything. Your entire everything you said, which goes back to what we talked. I mean, I talked about my childhood in there. I was told everything I talked about in that room now is up for executive review.
And the espionage threat, also on camera, also on Weaponized Episode 91, Part 2. A man who went through official channels, assessed as credible by the Inspector General. He was then told that if he continued speaking, the wrong word could be a capital offense. That's not a physical threat, it's a legal one. And it's documented on camera on a major podcast by named witnesses. Matthew Brown, former State Department contractor, the man who brought a document called Immaculate Constellation, a classified UAP-related operation, to Congress via Jeremy Corbell and Michael Schellenberger. His original weaponized interview generated significant congressional attention and media coverage. After the September 9th, 2025 congressional hearing, the same hearing where Dylan Borland testified, Brown was contacted by an initiative called The Dig. A UAP investigation unit stood up under the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Brown was told it was authorized by Gabbard herself. He was told there was a UAP whistleblower protection program, and he was told to come on in. He went to Liberty Crossing, the home of the intelligence campus, the ODNI intelligence facilities in Virginia. He went into a SCIF, a classified compartmented information facility. He was told he could speak freely. He was told UAP whistleblower protection program would be explained and offered to him. And here's what actually happened. from Brown himself on camera, unweaponized, published March 18th, 2026.
The most concerning thing for me, the whole reason of having that meeting never came about. The UAP whistleblower program by ODNI was never offered to me. I was never briefed on it. The only thing I was informed of was that, do I want to become an ICIG UAP whistleblower? Very different thing. And I'm like, no.
The protection program that brought him in was never offered. He went into a skiff expecting to be protected. He came out having been offered nothing except an invitation into the same ICIG process that told Dylan Borland to disappear. And then, approximately 3 weeks later, Brown says that the ODNI contacted Corbell and told him 3 things about what Brown said in that classified skiff. Things that were false, things that were designed to discredit him.
About what happened that day and spun it as me having an anti-Jew agenda.
An anti-what?
Jew.
Okay, like you hate the Jewish people?
I hate Jewish people, that I'm an anti-Semite.
Okay.
And that I, have hatred in my heart because of October 7th.
A man goes into a government facility specifically established to protect UAP whistleblowers. What he says in that classified room is then leaked to a journalist, not to protect him, but to destroy him. 3 fabricated claims designed to end his credibility. Now, that's the protection system operating in reverse, and it is documented on camera, named by the journalist who received the false information directly. Here's what the documented record shows. A sitting congressman received death threats for asking questions about UAP programs. He named it on camera. A second congressman independently said that people with knowledge of these programs are afraid that they'll be murdered if they speak. He said it on camera. A credentialed intelligence officer, assessed as credible and urgent by the Inspector General, testified under oath that 10 to 12 of his interview subjects had concerns about killings connected to these programs. A retired Rear Admiral testified under oath that government officials ran a coordinated hours-long influence operation against him to reshape what he believed about UAP and the people he trusted. A sitting congresswoman stated on the congressional record that naming a classified UAP program could trigger federal surveillance. She named it anyway. A former Pentagon official testified under oath that a small cadre inside the federal government has deliberately created a culture of suppression and intimidation around UAP. A federal whistleblower went through every official channel. The official mechanism classified his testimony and locked it behind a presidential declassification requirement. The Inspector General told him he was credible and told him to disappear. He was warned that the wrong word could be a capital offense. A second whistleblower went into a government facility specifically established to protect people like him. The protection program was never offered. What he said in that classified room was leaked, falsely, to a journalist to destroy him. None of these are anonymous claims. None of them are forum posts. Every person named in this episode said what they said on camera, under oath, or on a congressional record. This is what it costs to come forward.